Life is full of risks, but our ability to properly weigh them often falls short. We not only distort what is risky and what isn't, we tend to make judgments about risks based on our emotional likes and dislikes. Let's start by illustrating the first problem. I'm going to name a series of 2 risks, and I want you to estimate which risk of death is greater and by how much. Okay, here we go. How would you rate these mortality risks? Strokes versus accidental deaths. Tornadoes versus asthma. Lightning versus botulism. And accidental deaths versus diabetes. For strokes versus accidental deaths, 80% of respondents judged accidental deaths to be more likely than strokes. But in fact, there are almost twice as many deaths by stroke versus accidental deaths of all kinds. For tornadoes versus asthma, respondents rated tornadoes as causing more deaths, but in fact, asthma causes 20 times more deaths than tornadoes. Lightning versus botulism is a tricky one. Most respondents thought botulism was more frequent, but death by lightning is 52 times more frequent than botulism. Finally, people estimated accidental death to be 300 times more deadly than diabetes, but death by diabetes is 4 times more likely than accidental death. As Daniel Kahneman notes in Chapter 13 of Thinking Fast and Slow, the world in our heads is not a precise replica of reality. Our expectations about the frequency of events are distorted by the prevalence and emotional intensity of the messages to which we are exposed. But as we said before, our grasp of risks in reality is further distorted by things we like and dislike. When we like something, we tend to not only emphasize the benefits, but we also dismiss the risks. We don't tend to hold a tension between risks and rewards if there is something that we particularly like. In fact, we justify our affinity to something we like by amplifying the benefits and diminishing the costs. So for example, if we happen to like motorcycles and are asked to evaluate the risks and rewards of riding motorcycles, we would focus on aspects like their affordable price, fuel economy, convenience, and fun, while severely downplaying the much higher rates of injury and death that come from driving them instead of cars. And studies show that even if you are not well acquainted with a particular issue or technology, say food preservatives, for example, if you were to read a brief essay on the benefits of food preservatives, your opinion of them would not only become more favorable, but you would also perceive any risks to be negligible. When it comes to evaluating risks and rewards, we are not particularly rational actors and are generally unbalanced in our assessments. But this problem of evaluating risks is not just a matter of psychological academic interest. This has real-world implications, especially in the area of public policy. We would hope that our public policy makers are focused on the right priorities that save the most lives and the most money and mitigate the most risk for the most people. But as a matter of fact, they are often focused on whatever emotional reactions and priorities their constituents bring to the fore. There are many examples of this, but a famous one was called the Love Canal affair. After a period of very heavy rain, some buried toxic waste was exposed and contaminated local water supplies, in addition to being quite smelly. The experts and scientists noted that the problem was real but not particularly catastrophic, and that public health could be preserved with normal safety measures. But a local citizen was very active in drawing media attention to the problem, and within a short amount of time, ABC News aired a special called The Killing Ground about this particular toxic waste problem. Activists then lined up baby-sized coffins in front of the legislature. This attention resulted in landmark legislation for the cleanup of toxic waste sites with an expensive government superfund to address other risks like the Love Canal affair. So is this a good result or not? Of course, this is subject to some debate, but many experts believe that more lives and more money would have been saved if it had been directed to other deadlier priorities. No one would dispute that the Love Canal affair was an incident that needed remediation for the purpose of public health. But to give it top priority over other health and safety matters is something of real dispute. The lesson here is not whether or not toxic waste should be remediated, but that public policy priorities were shaped by an emotional public reaction and massive media attention over the facts. Hopefully you can sense that our struggle to weigh risk is not an academic matter. Think of the public policy debates we still have over the risk and benefits of nuclear energy, vaccines, and genetically modified foods. And think of your own decisions about your recreational activities, the insurance coverages you carry, and even your own dietary choices. Instead of trying to intuit the risks we face, we need to recognize our own biases and temper them with the best facts available to us. Otherwise, we may find ourselves on the losing end of the risks we truly face.